I'm going to share a secret. Throughout my entire YouTube career, there hasn't been a second where I didn't feel some type of guilty, wrong, or inauthentic for wasting so much of my energy or time on something that seems as trivial as movies. Because in reality, doing that also implies that I have to pretend that I'm not constantly fearful, if not actively fighting for my fundamental rights. It's funny that I spend so much time and so much of my brand revolves around like fictional empires and Palpatines, when in reality, throughout my entire life, I've had my personal, real-life empire looming over me. And especially now, I can feel its breath on my neck constantly.
The day Russia invaded one of its neighbors, waged a bloody war, and seized a fifth of that neighbor's territory, fear and shock rippled throughout the region. We're not talking about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, rather the small country of Georgia. That invasion was more than 15 years ago. Vladimir Putin's playbook hasn't changed much. Today, Georgia, which shares a 556-mile border with Russia, is still trying to remove the grip of the Kremlin.
Making videos is scary. I've been trying to record this for weeks now. Didn't like it. Okay, now I'm gonna try to put an active effort to not sound nearly as dramatic. Why I'm making this video right now as opposed to any other time. There was always a part of my life and myself that I used to just ignore, put away, zoom in, and only think about art and movies, and ignore all the context that my life was happening in. But lately it has become, frankly, impossible to continue functioning like that. And if I love what I do, which I do, I have to get rid of this feeling of being an imposter and a scam and a liar, and that I am keeping myself hidden and at bay. As you probably have guessed, I am from Georgia, not the state. And Georgia is a very small country in between the continents of Europe and Asia. Just imagine Rivendell, but run through by orcs, and you have my country. Its history dates back to the 12th century BCE, making it freaking old.
Well, it's an antique bridge between Asia and Europe, and has been for millennia. And there has been migration routes through here going back before memory. The Silk Road passes through here, but it also is the epicenter where three major empires meet, and they have always contested this area. From the south, the Persians. From the west, the Ottoman Empire, which is today Turkey. And from the north, more recently, Russia. They've overlapped and contested and fought over this corner of the world for centuries.
So if they've lived here, they've also died here?
A lot of people have died here over the years. I think we're standing on one of the oldest boneyards in the world.
And the reason I'm telling you this is because my country is being frankly destroyed as we speak. For the past few weeks, I have been standing in the streets of my capital city amongst peaceful and brave individuals, never without my gas mask and goggles, while my police have been shooting water cannons, tear gas, pepper spray, and rubber bullets at us because we were trying to protect our freedom, future, pro-Western aspirations. Like a black hole, they swallow up peaceful women and men, drag them behind their pathetic corridors, beat them until they look unrecognizable, and or arrest them because that gives them bonuses. If anything could describe my psychological, emotional, and literally physical state over the past few months, at least, if not years, is, as funny as it sounds, Padme in episode 3 just sitting in the Senate and everything that... I feel like someone just ripped that page off of the script and went, this one! I've been spending hell of a time just sitting, grieving my liberty, basically. They're probably thinking, what the is going on? All of this started a year ago, when my current government, that is made out of complete pro-Russian idiots ruled by a billionaire oligarch, introduced a foreign agents law to be implemented. More than 85% of my population is pro-Western, by the way. Is the same law that Putin used and our oligarch needs to carry out in order to obliterate NGOs, any government-opposing organizations, parties, or media, imposing a complete and irreversible dictatorship, completely cutting us off from our Western alliances and leaving us exclusively in the hands of an empire that has begun a war with us in 2008 and which one has 20% of our country occupied currently. Fortunately, a year ago, after a good deal of suffocation from the gas on my part, the government did not manage to scare people off with their water guns and peppers and these creatures that are not our police. They're what we call them, slaves, or more officially, Robocops. That's what we call them. If you can't tell, we have a lot of fun out here. We dance to the siren beat, we play jump rope with the water cannon. It's a hell of a fun. We even climb statues. You can come visit sometime. But again, Gen Z, also known as a propagandist movement, as my prime minister calls us, managed to force the government to not pass the law. However, a year later, they introduced it once again, and it's gotten so much worse. Not only that, but the parliament has refused to back down, and as for now, the law is on its way of coming into effect. Meanwhile, the protests have gotten larger than ever, but this Russian government of mine, they're not above almost anything. The groups of hired people track the ones who are the most vocal. They call them up from ambiguous numbers, cursing and threatening them. They call their children, they beat up their cars and motorcycles. They hide next to their homes, jumping them, beating them up, and putting them in the hospital. A few people I know have been beat up. My grandpa and mom have both received numerous calls. The picture of my uncle has been paraded under a label of a protester abusing peaceful citizens by the governmental media, even though I was right next to him during all the protests, just chatting. Most recently, they have been fining thousands of people for simply attending the protests. And again, who knows what they might unfortunately come up with down the line once they have this quote-unquote lawful tool in form of this stupid law to abuse critical population. So what does this mean for me and my channel? To be honest, not much. Not yet, at least. This is not to announce my retirement or anything. I mean, I'm gonna continue making videos as long as I can. I mean, if this video does like really, really well, which I doubt it will, I might get into trouble. To which, I mean, good thing they don't beat up girls yet. But I don't give a shit. I just can't deal with the feeling of guilt anymore for hiding this and just not openly speaking about this. For now, everything is chill. The protests are on a hiatus, if you could say so, since the elections are coming up in next October. So the summer is going to be chill and calm, I expect so. And the October is going to be a hellhole for me personally. There's nothing to worry about, not yet. I might not realize it, but this whole situation, especially since last year, has probably affected me a lot psychologically and emotionally, and I think that might be a huge cause why I haven't been active as much and why it is so hard to put my all into my work lately. But making videos is something that really brings me so much joy, and it is the best thing I can do for myself. So moving on, I'm gonna continue making videos and hope you guys will enjoy them. Yeah, I mean, this was very vulnerable and hard for me to make and record, but I hope you guys don't mind this little intermission.